We are visiting beautiful South Africa again today, folks. Seems like my beautiful country never ceases to provide content for me. Unfortunately, that's not a good thing. But today we will be having a look at Thabo Bester, better known to the world as the Facebook rapist. This story has so many twists and turns and has astounded people across the globe. Thabo Bester was born on 13 June 1986 in Johannesburg, South Africa. His mother's name is Mace Maria Mabaso. Unfortunately, Thabo's birth was an extremely difficult period for Mrs. Mabaso, as she explained she fell pregnant with Thabo as a result of being raped. She gave birth to Thabo and continued to work while Thabo was being raised by his grandmother. Not too much is known of the details of Thabo's upbringing, but Gauteng education spokesperson Steve Mabona has confirmed that Thabo attended school without any documentation. He had no birth certificate. He said the department cannot deny any child education because of documentation. So Thabo attended Donnie Tron Primary School in Kibble Park on the south side of Johannesburg. He continued with school until grade 5 and left during term 3 and never went back. That was the last time he was seen in a schooling environment. Just to give you an idea, you are normally around 10 or 11 years old in the 5th grade in South Africa. Thabo claims that his childhood was difficult. He felt abandoned by his mother and shared how he was sexually abused as a child by his grandmother's friend and another man. But Thabo Bester's life of crime started very early in his life. He was 4 years old when he stole for the first time. His grandfather found him with a large stack of cash. He lied and said it was given to him by a neighbor. His grandfather took him to the neighbor and made him return the money. As a teenager, he was convicted for fraud after running many scams. He served 2 years of a 3-year sentence under the name Thabo Magagulu in Johannesburg, but was released on parole in 2011. In July of 2011, shortly after his release, he broke parole and started taunting police. At that time, police believed that Thabo was stealing 2 to 3 laptops daily, in addition to running other scams where he asked women to pay him for auditions and setting up elaborate photo shoots. But actually, he would just rob them of their belongings. After his release in 2011, Thabo started using the alias Tom Kelly. As Tom Kelly, he flew to Cape Town with some models using a Johannesburg charter company. Of course, they were never paid because the proof of payment he sent through was fake. He also rented 2 buses and an entire crew for a photo shoot with 13 models. He arranged lunch for the crew and models, and as they were enjoying their lunch, he fled with all their photographic equipment, which was still in the buses. The models were also charged a fee to be part of the shoot and were told that their cell phones had to be scanned for security reasons. This, of course, was a lie, and Thabo ran off with their money and their cell phones. Beautiful young aspiring models from Durban, Johannesburg and Cape Town were Thabo's prime targets. In 2011, Nomfundo Tahulu, a 26-year-old aspiring model and car saleswoman, would unfortunately meet Thabo when she sold him a BMW in Johannesburg. In March of 2011, the two started a long-distance relationship as Thabo was supposedly living in Durban and she was in Johannesburg. Later that year, they decided to fly to Cape Town for a couple's vacation and stayed in a bed and breakfast in Sunset Beach, Cape Town. On the 21st of September, the very first night that the couple spent at the bed and breakfast, Thabo killed Nomfundo by stabbing her in the chest. He then stole Nomfundo's belongings and fled to Durban, even going as far as to phone the bed and breakfast to tell them his girlfriend was sleeping in and they should not go to clean the room before 2 p.m. the next day. Within this time, 2 models from Durban came forward and claimed that Thabo Bester had lured them in under false pretenses through Facebook, conned them, and then raped them. This is ultimately how the criminal got his name, the Facebook rapist. Police were now searching for Thabo to arrest him for 2 counts of rape and 1 count of murder. Now reportedly, there were many other alleged rapes, but they could only convict Thabo of 2. Nomfundo's family, along with the rest of South Africa, celebrated the arrest of Thabo Bester in 2011. Thabo pleaded guilty for the 2 rapes and in 2012 pleaded guilty for the murder of Nomfundo. Thabo was sentenced to life and an additional 75 years behind bars at Magudumana prison in Bloemfontein. Now let's have a look at this interview where Thabo speaks of rapes and murder.
I feel also that I'm not somebody that you should worry about leaving a woman in one room with me that I'll rape. And I feel that my rapes, especially the rape, because the murder, I feel that it was just a pure, we fight over a knife, somebody gets stabbed in the process, and it was not, if I wanted to stab her, I could have killed her in Durban, I could have killed her the first night we got to Cape Town. So that was not my intentions at all. If I wanted to kill her, I could have got her into Mthatha, where there's much less people, and got her into a bush BNB there, killed her there. So my intentions was never to kill anyone. My intentions were, with her, was straightforward. I liked her, and things got twisted whenever they got twisted, and we had a fight. The knife got out of hand. She got stabbed. I got stabbed in the process. I tried to stop it. And there's no one in this world with two cases and there's a knife involved and I'm wanted by cops. If I went to the cops and said we had a fight, she got stabbed in the process, no one was going to believe me.
What's kind of striking is that, I mean, you have the two rapes that occur, a week or two apart. And the murder was how long after that? Also about what?
A week apart.
It's as if all of a sudden something snapped and the whole ball game has changed, where it was purely in the past, financial conning, getting money, fraud, etc. It's as if it had gone on to the next level. And
well, one thing I also feel like, I read the papers and I feel like they're talking about somebody else, not me. I look at these charges and I don't think it's me. I really don't think it's me. That's why I pleaded guilty. And to the murder case, I can't plead guilty to murdering her because I did not intentionally want to kill her.
That you're responsible for her death, but it not as a result of an intentional thing that you started out to.
I'm responsible for her death, yes, that's 100% correct. I'm not responsible for killing her. I did not kill her. If I'm sure if I wanted to kill her, I could have, I'm not a stupid person, I could have done it in a way that the cops wouldn't even know it was me. The rapes happened in a way that I did not know I was doing rape until I left the premises. Because if I knew I was doing rape, I could have covered myself up by using certain methods so that my fingerprints were not there, and etc. So it only became known to me that I did rape when I left.
Magudumana prison in Bloemfontein is a privately managed maximum security prison. The prison is managed by the company G4S as part of a consortium. The South African Department of Correctional Services signed a 25-year contract with G4S in 2000. The prison can accommodate around 3,000 prisoners, and now Thabo Bester was one of those 3,000 prisoners for more or less 10 years. But then the unexpected happened. On the 3rd of May 2022, some guards were alerted by smoke coming from Thabo Bester's cell. He had been placed in solitary confinement the previous day and they rushed to his aid. The guard came across a body that was burned and beyond recognition. Thabo Bester was declared dead that same day. Also on that same day, the Department of Correctional Services announced to the public that Thabo Bester had committed suicide. But thanks to Mauricia Damons from the South African news agency Ground Up, this matter was further investigated. Mauricia published an article raising questions about Thabo Bester's death. In January 2023, Ground Up published another article by Mauricia citing post-mortem results on the body found in Bester's cell, which found that the body was dead before the fire even broke out. This Ground Up article also revealed that the police had started to investigate a murder. A deeper look into the autopsy of the burnt corpse revealed that the person's length did not match that of Thabo's and that the body smelled of accelerant. It also revealed that the person's cause of death was blunt force trauma to the skull and that he was dead long before the fire was even started. In short, the burnt corpse was not Thabo Bester. This baffled police. Who was the corpse? And where was Thabo Bester? Just a side note, if you also think that South African police and correctional services really dropped the ball here, hit that like button and let me know what you think in the comment section. On 15 March 2023, Groundup published a third article by Mauricio Damons and Daniel Steyn, revealing evidence that Bester had faked his death in the fire and escaped from prison. Another interesting finding was that a woman by the name of Nandipa Magudumana, a celebrity doctor and famous influencer, had come forward soon after the fire and claimed to be Thabo's customary law wife. She demanded that the body be turned over to her for her to honor Thabo with a proper burial. However, when Thabo's mother came to claim his body, when everyone still believed it was him who died in the fire, she stated that Thabo wasn't married. So who is Nandipa Magudumana? As mentioned, Nandipha was a celebrity doctor and influencer in South Africa. She obtained her Bachelor of Medicine and Bachelor of Surgery from Wits University. She is an alumnus of Port Edward Primary School and Port Shepstone High School. She married Makuseli Oscar Magudumana in 2013 and still uses his last name. According to Nandipha, she met Thabo while studying at Wits University in 2006. Reportedly, Thabo had run a modeling and promotions agency and Nandipha was one of his promo girls. By 2011, she had lost contact with Thabo and went on with her life. She graduated and got married in 2013, and from 2014 to 2015, she worked at Edenvale Hospital in Johannesburg. In 2016 and 2017, she moved on to work at Far East Rand Hospital and then opened Optimum Medical Solutions. In the same year, she started reaching out to Thabo Bester, who is now still behind bars for rape and murder. Now reportedly, Nandipha and her husband separated, but they are still legally married to this day. But why this beautiful, accomplished woman felt the need to reach out to a convicted criminal when she was such a successful and intelligent woman, we may never know or understand. She kept in touch with Bester, and in 2020, in an affidavit, Dr. Nandipha stated that she was engaged to Thabo Bester. In 2021, the Health Professions Council of South Africa suspended Dr. Nandipha from practicing as a doctor, and it would be this very year that Thabo and Nandipha started a property renovation company together called Arum. Now, if you are following the timeline correctly, you must be asking how is it that Thabo managed to open a company with Nandipha in 2021, if he was still in Manguang prison? Well, this is where things get really interesting. While in prison, Bester ran a sham media and events company called 21st Century Media, which posed as a subsidiary of a multinational media group, 21st Century Fox. Now let that sink in. He was running a multi-million rand scam business while serving a life sentence for rape and murder at Manguang Correctional Center. Let's have a look at the video footage of the glitzy launch of 21st Century Media in 2018, held at the Hilton Hotel in Sandton.
I'm a South African TV presenter and entrepreneur, but tonight we're at the Hilton in Sandton celebrating the launch of the 21st Century Group.
The event was attended by members of Johannesburg's high society, including celebrities Amanda DuPont and Yvonne Chaka Chaka. Attendees were told that the chairman of the company, Tom Motsepe, would video call in from New York. But unbeknownst to the audience, the man appearing on the big screen was actually convicted rapist and murderer Thabo Bester, speaking from prison. Bester appears in front of a white wall wearing a suit and a designer watch. The date of the conference was 13 June 2018. While running 21st Century Media, he was known as Tom Motsepe and claimed to be related to businessman Patrice Motsepe. GroundUp spoke to several former employees of 21st Century Media. They said that Tom was hands-on in the company's operations and would send money whenever it was needed. Everyone was acting under direct instructions from Tom, aka Thabo Bester. According to former employees, he was able to persuade people to quit their jobs at established media houses to join the company. He had researched the industry well, and senior members of the media knew about him. Recruits of 21st Century Media were led to believe they would be working with an industry-leading company. Tom introduced himself to them as an executive of 21st Century Fox and Sky Digital. A Twitter account for Tom Motsepe contains photo of Bester's face edited onto other people's bodies. In one picture, his face is edited onto American actor Michael B. Jordan's body. An archived copy of tommotsepe.com shows Bester wearing the same outfit he wore on the night of the company's launch. The website contains several blog posts on business management. Bester had invented an extensive backstory for Tom. A board of directors document for another one of his companies, 21st Century Group, includes a profile that describes Tom as a South African investment strategist magnate, a progressive and innovative businessman, and a thought leader with sound knowledge of how to operate a successful global brand. Tom, the profile claims, holds a bachelor's degree in business administration and management from the University of Cape Town and a bachelor's degree in investment and security from Harvard University. The profile lists several companies started by Tom, including the world's largest promotion company, which he started at the age of 21. He also says that he specializes in mining, investment, and media. According to this profile, Tom owned 33.5% of Viacom, 12.9% of 20th Century Fox, and went on to occupy UBS Financial Services in Switzerland. 21st Century Media was registered as a company with the Companies and Intellectual Property Commission in 2018. The sole director was Phumuzo Tenga. Tenga was also the sole director of 11 other registered companies with names similar to well-known international companies. All of them, including 21st Century Media, have since been deregistered. Companies registered by Tenga include UBS Group, the same name as a giant financial services firm, United Talent Agency, the same name as one of the biggest international casting agencies, and Black Phoenix Digital, the same name as a UK-based PR company. Tenga was also the sole director of TM Financials, which one former employee told us stood for Tom Motsepe Financials and shared offices with 21st Century Media. Another was Sky Digital, the logo of which was displayed on a banner at the 21st Century Media launch event and bore a striking resemblance to the logo of the UK-based television network Sky News. The logos for 21st Century Media and 21st Century Group displayed on the banner were also very similar to those of their real counterpart. Promotional social media posts for the Women in Media conference include a logo for UBS Group, which is almost identical to the logo of the Swiss investment giant UBS. According to former employees, Tenga was the CEO of the company, but was very rarely at the office. A full-time managing director ran daily operations, and Tom would give direct instructions to employees. Tom was supposedly based in New York, so there was always a time zone difference. It is possible that it was easier for Bester to have private access to a phone and laptop and internet at nighttime. The company had luxurious offices in Sandton and more than 30 employees. Employees were apparently given brand new laptops. One former employee said that there did not seem to be any real strategy or business plan. Money would always just be available. Several television productions were supposedly being worked on, but they were never filmed. The company even held auditions for the shows, which were attended by several famous South African actors. But then 21st Century Media made headlines in 2018 after advertising a Women in Media conference, which turned out to be a scam. Tickets were sold for 1,250 Rand each, and Hollywood A-listers like Halle Berry and Taraji P. Henson were advertised as guest speakers. But when Berry and Henson denied this and publicly distanced themselves from the event, a media outcry followed and the event was cancelled. They lost all credibility as a company and were even faced with legal action by the real 21st Century Fox. The company said that the conference was intended to build leadership and women empowerment in Africa. It called it a non-profit initiative funded by 21st Century Group as a means of giving back to women in Africa. They also released a statement expressing disappointment with Berry and Henson for withdrawing from the event and said that legal action was being taken against the agencies through whom they had booked the guest speakers. Former employees said they were under the impression that this event was real. They were told that contracts were being signed with the guest speakers and deposits were paid for local celebrities and venue hire. Needless to say, the event never took place. Soon after the media storm, rumors started circulating in the office that 21st Century Media was going to shut down. The former employees said that although they got paid their monthly salaries, they later found out that tax and unemployment insurance were deducted from their salaries but never transferred to SARS and the Department of Labor. The former employees who spoke to Ground Up said that they all had moments where they became suspicious about who Tom really was, but never really gave it much thought. It was only years later, upon seeing the reports on Bester's escape, that they connected the dots. He ruined so many lives, said one employee, who quit her job to join the company. Almost 4 years after the Women in Media debacle, she has not been able to find another job. But how could a convicted rapist and murderer run a business from prison? According to the Correctional Services Act, sentenced offenders are not allowed to work or conduct business on their own account. But illicit businesses run from prison are not uncommon in South Africa. The illicit trade of cell phones and drugs, often aided by prison officials, is a known problem. Nonetheless, it is troubling that an inmate serving a life sentence from a maximum security prison and the second largest private prison in the world was able to run such an elaborate business from behind bars. It is astounding that a convicted violent sex offender should have free access to the internet. Inmates at Manguang Correctional Centre who spoke to Ground Up about unlawfully traded cell phones said that it would have been relatively easy for Bester to obtain a cell phone. Laptops were allowed in the prison for inmates who were studying. Ground Up has previously reported that according to Magudumana, Bester was studying through Damlin. But for Bester to run this type of business and to escape from prison later, he would have had to have the support of officials working at the prison. And more importantly, how did this criminal manage to stage his death and escape this maximum security prison? Well, it gets even more interesting. Turns out he had help from officials here too, and additional help from his so-called fiancée, Dr. Nandipa Magudumana. The burned corpse, first thought to be that of Thabo Bester, was actually a man named Katlego Bareng. Katlego reportedly collapsed at a taxi rank in Pretoria and later died in hospital from a seizure. But his body was transported from Pretoria to Manguang prison by Senohe Matsora, a prison worker. Further investigation revealed yet another interesting twist. Turns out that Dr. Nandipha's father, Zolile Sekeleni, hired a car in Johannesburg and drove it to Bloemfontein on April 27, 2022. On April 29, the same vehicle was driven by Matsora, carrying the corpse to prison at approximately 5 p.m. The car was carrying the corpse from the National Hospital, which was claimed by none other than Dr. Nandipha, pretending that the body was that of her brother's child known as Zanda Moyo, and that she was assisting with the funeral. On April 29th, Matsora arrived at the prison and used the entrance called Sally Port, which has 2 doors. At the time, Matsora was supposed to be off duty. He said on the day Masukela was designated at the gate, and to get through the gate, one needs a gate pass. Matsora had no gate pass and Masukela demanded it. While talking, the operational supervisor who was on duty also came and demanded the pass from Matsora. He said the supervisor then received an emergency call about a vehicle that needs to pass, and upon his investigations, there was no emergency. Matsura then drove to the workshop without a gate pass and without his vehicle being searched. His vehicle was loaded with a TV stand and a bag with a corpse. He said once the body was in the prison workshop, a worker, Lepolo, took it the following day and put it in the dustbin while pretending to be cleaning the yard. Lepolo used the emergency door to take the corpse to Broadway, which is where single cells are. On May 2, 2022, Lepolo, who was supposed to knock off in the evening, pretended that he had gone home, but he did not leave the prison. He and Matsura conspired to place the body in cell 35, and Matsura promised him 2.5 million rand. The plan was for Lepolo to disconnect the camera as the body was being taken to Bester's cell. The fire in Bester's cell broke out in the early hours of 3 May. Matsura made it look as if he was helping with the fire, but actually he was on his cell phone. Matsura gave Bester a G4S uniform. Bester was then dressed in the G4S uniform, pretending to be one of the security guards when escaping the prison. Makotso and Janssen were working in the control room, and they opened the doors for Bester to escape. Makotso was paid 14,000 rand, and Lepolo did not even get his 2.5 million he was promised by Matsura, but was paid 40,000 rand, which was deposited into his wife's bank account. The group of G4S employees who helped Thabo Bester escape faced an array of charges, including fraud and corruption, as well as those relating to violating a corpse, harboring and concealing an escaped offender, and defeating the ends of justice. More would be arrested that were involved with Thabo's escape, a total of 12 to be exact. Since, they have been fired from G4S, and on 28 March 2023, Correctional Services would take over from G4S in regards to running Manguang prison. Since the time of his escape, Thabo had been at large for an entire year, and now a manhunt was launched. Reportedly after his escape, Bester lived in a rented mansion in Hyde Park, Johannesburg, with Dr. Nandipa. He used the pseudonym TK Nkwana, and along with Dr. Nandipha, continued to run their scam property company, Arum Properties, and convinced several people to pay deposit for construction projects which were never completed. About 2 months after his escape, a photo was taken by chance by someone who admired Dr. Nandipha, and it surfaced on social media. In the photo, Dr. Nandipha was standing next to a man who looked exactly like Thabo Bester. Many confirmed that this was Thabo, and many came forward claiming to have been scammed by this man and that he was very much alive. The photo was taken on 30 June 2022. But now in 2023, the manhunt was finally on, and on the 17th of March, track and trace teams located Thabo Bester and Dr. Nandipha Magudumana in Bulawayo, Zimbabwe. Finally, on 7 April 2023, Thabo Bester and Dr. Nandipha Magudumana were captured and arrested in Arusha, Tanzania. They were arrested with a Mozambican national who were helping them. It is believed they were on their way to Kenya. Thabo and Nandipha were transported back to South Africa. On 8 August, Thabo Bester would appear in Bloemfontein's Magistrate Court along with his 11 co-accused, including Dr. Nandipha. He put on a show, laughing hysterically in court with one of the men accused of assisting him in his elaborate prison escape last year. Reportedly, Bester entered the dock freshly groomed, with a relaxed demeanor. He greeted his alleged main accomplice and lover Magudumana, the two locked eyes, smiling coyly at each other as he sat down next to her, seeing her for the first time since their arrest in Tanzania in April. Bester then turned to former G4S employee Butu Masukela, greeting him, and the duo began laughing hysterically. Among those watching Bester and Masukela laugh was the family of Katlego Bareng, whose body was falsely claimed from a mortuary, smuggled into prison, and set alight in Bester's cell. Reportedly, Nandipha had taken Katlego's corpse and had it cremated, and it was not buried, but the funeral went on as that of Thabo Bester's in 2022, and the coffin was taken to the grave. During the investigation, police wanted to exhume the body, and inside the coffin they found 3 bags of 10 kgs maize meal, and not the body. The case against Bester and his 11 co-accused has been postponed to 21 October 2023 for final investigations. Bester's attorneys claimed he had been treated inhumanely while being detained at Kosi Mampuru prison in Pretoria. He alleged that Bester spends 23 hours a day handcuffed in his cell. He further alleged that a number of items went missing during Bester's arrest in Tanzania. The items include cash in the form of rands, dollars, Swiss francs, cell phones, laptops, high-end watches, sunglasses, and a wedding ring, all of which are valued at millions of rands. Dr. Nandipa, Magudumana's father, Zolile Cornelius Sekeleni, was granted bail when he appeared in the Bloemfontein's Magistrate Court. He only had to pay 10,000 rand bail. Okay, so that was a long case to cover with so many twists and turns, and I'm eagerly awaiting for Thabo Bester and co-accused prosecution. Let me know what you think and if you have any questions, as I for one have many. Like, how did he get a suit in prison? What was Thabo studying when he had not even completed grade 5? And how is it that the autopsy results were just ignored? Did they just want to cover things up? I will be following this case and I will post an update as soon as these criminals have been formally convicted in October. But that's it for today. Thank you so much for watching. Please remember to subscribe and hit that like button. And feel free to let me know what stories you would like me to cover next. See you in the next one and stay safe.